Let's talk about the Gold Cup. Paul Nicholls, Kauto, Star and Denman. Let's start with Kauto. Campaign mapped out in advance, everything gone how you would wish?
Well, he's running the races we've planned out. Obviously, we'd like to win the King George. He won on heavy ground in Downwall his first run back, and actually it was good to see him do that. It wasn't the best form in the book, but having nearly killed himself at Cheltenham last year, it was good to see him jump and finish and
nice
improve. He obviously ran a good enough race at Kempton. He'd have been second if he hadn't made that bad mistake. Long run's probably going to be the horse to beat in the King George, I think, for the next few years, Rain Kempton. And he wasn't quite right then, but I'm not really using that as a big excuse. I don't think he'd have won that day anyway. He's improved since then. He's in good order, and the ground will definitely be in his favour. The better the ground next week, that will be in his favour.
On the basis of what you've just said there, I mean, even if he does improve from Kempton, can he reproduce his previous best performances, or are those now behind him?
It's hard, but he's 11 now, you know, and you look at any athlete or footballer, any sportsman is in the latter stages of a career, it's really hard to perform at what they had done in earlier years. But, you know, there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes about all these other horses. And if he
what about this horse, though? What can he run to, do you think?
I wish I could tell you the answer to that. He looks fab at the moment. He's going really well. I don't think there's anything between Denman, Kauto, Star and Imperial Commander and what they've done this year and the way they are. One thing is Denman would want soft ground. This horse would like good ground. So I think it's an open race, I really do. And he deserves to be in the field. Of course he does.
We talk about Kauto and Denman. We often use the ground to try and split them, don't we? If it's going to be good, it's going to favour Kauto. If it's going to be some digging it, it's going to favour Denman. Is it that simple? Is that how it works?
I think now it is. I think Denman definitely wants cutting the ground, you know. I think he's a big shouldery horse and quick ground would not suit him, whereas Kauto floats on it. Definitely, especially now they're old, I think it makes a big difference to them.
Okay.
So Mr. Barber's going to be up there with his watering can all next week, making sure there's plenty of water on it or doing a rain dance. So Denman would still run a nice race, but he definitely wants better, you know, cutting the ground.
Okay. He'll still run, though, presumably, even if it's...
Listen, if it came very quick, you think about it. But they're going to water this week and make sure it's safe. But, you know, at the moment, it looks like the ground is going towards Kauto's way, really.
Great, those shots. A long way down from on top of him, isn't it?
I mean, he's actually, Sam's coming down tomorrow morning to school him outside. He jumps well in the school, but he's going to jump 3 big fences outside on the grass tomorrow morning and do that.
These are two horses. They've given you some of the best days ever, and they owe you nothing, obviously. What realistically are you hoping for when you go to the Gold Cup?
Both of them come back safe and sound. That's the first thing. That'll be a winner in itself. I mean, at the end of the day, they are 11 and not 13 or 14, but they are going back for the 6th festival in a row, both of them, so that's incredible for the horses' point of view. But, you know, at the end of the day, 2 runs ago, Kauto's won a Grade 1. The other horse ran a blinding race in the Hennessy with top weight. They deserve to be there. They've hardly been running moderately.
What do you say to the statisticians who will say they can't do it? This can't be done at this age.
Well, 3 years ago, they said Mastermind couldn't win the Champion Chase when he was 5. Statistics are there to be beaten. Listen, they've got a hard task, but I think they've got a chance of running really, really well in an open race.
Okay. It is an open race, Kieran, or is it? What's the Timeform?
Yeah, no, I think it's our take is very much, as Paul's, a wide open race. I think probably the hardest race for any pundit or punter to have a strong opinion on, because I just don't think anyone can be categorical of what we're going to get from any of these. Imperial Commander's win last year is the one piece of form in the last 12 months and a day that is good enough to win a Gold Cup. I don't think any of the others have put up that sort of performance under these conditions. Anyone who fancies long run, just go back and watch the RSA last year and then watch the King George. He's just a completely different horse around Cheltenham. He barely jumped a fence in the RSA. The Paddy Powell wasn't much better. If Imperial Commander is in the same form as he was last year, then 7-2 is a fair price. After I said last night that I don't really pay the Gold Cup that much attention. You get caught up in the handicaps and perhaps the more interesting supporting races. When I went to look at the market yesterday before doing my first preview, I did actually expect him. I honestly thought Imperial Commander was 2-1 because there's so many doubts about the others, and yet he is still 100 to 37-2.
What's the reason for that? I mean, he was slightly neglected in the market last year before winning.
I personally think punters don't trust Twister as much as they've probably learnt to trust Paul or anybody else. I think that's the simple reason. I don't think there's really that faith that he will be there on the top of his game. Now, whether that's how Nigel expresses himself, I don't know. But that is the one niggle, that are you actually getting the full story
he has had a setback,
behind this
hasn't he?
horse? Well, exactly.
And they haven't had the preparation they wanted because they did want to run at Christmas.
And of course, Denman has had a breathing up as well since his last run, which I'm hoping might just bring out a little bit of improvement in him.
Okay, we touched on long run. I think we can hear from trainer Nicky Henderson talking about not just about the horse long run, but also about the jockey, Sam Whaley-Combs, which is something that I'm sure we are going to want to touch on and discuss here. And some of you might have strong views on that. So can we hear from Nicky Henderson and talking about the horse, but also about Sam?
Sam's very good. The one great thing about him, I mean, he's a very good rider. I mean, he's amateur, and he doesn't get day-to-day practice. But you know, he knows exactly what he's got to do. He knows what the horse can do, and the good thing is it doesn't get to him. I mean, you might expect there's pressure. And I mean, there almost certainly is. If it does, he doesn't show it. And, you know, it'll be a big day, it'll be a big build-up for him. And the horse, he has to just sort of get through that, but that's why he wears earplugs, actually, so it doesn't get to him. But I don't need to put earplugs in Sam. He's a very level-headed lad, and he won't, he'll cope with the occasion.
We forget how young Long Run is and what he's really achieved so far, how mature he is really for his age.
He is, but then that's French. That's the way they're brought up in France. They do it very early.
So that was Nicky Henderson talking about the jockey, but also talking about the horse. Tell us about the horse, though, Anthony, long run. We'll come back to the jumping and to the various courses. About the horse in terms of the quality of this horse and what you and other people saw in him at a young age.
Well, he was bought at a very young age. He'd only actually run twice in France, and Robert Whaley-Combs had the half-sister Libertine, which I'd found for him, and had left in France for a bit and then came over, and she did well, and she won the Cheltenham Festival, won a Pendle, I think, and he kept him over there. He won €600,000 winning the Grade 1 Champion 3-year-old hurdle. He's the only horse ever to have won the Champion 3-year-old hurdle in November as a 3-year-old, and then the following November win the Champion 4-year-old chase. I was surprised to find that information out. I thought it would have been done quite regularly, but it hasn't been. He's the only horse who's done that. But you're actually, in this race, you've got lots of history-breaking horses. Kauto Star's the only horse to have come back, having won his Gold Cup, got beaten a Gold Cup, and then come back and won one. Can he do it for another time? I mean, you know, it's quite fairy tale stuff, isn't it? You know, to come back on his fifth go and win a third one, having been beaten twice in between, would be it's all red rum sort of status, isn't it? Really.
What about long run though? Has he got what it takes?
Long run is in good shape. I tell you, I will say to you, don't look too harshly on him about the RSA run last year. Form people can look at it, this, that, and the other. That is on the day. That's what happened. But I know that horse, he'd been in training fully for 2 years. He'd not had any break. He'd come from winning everything in France as a 4-year-old. To win that sort of money, he did not go, even in the summer as a 4-year-old, he didn't have a break. He continued in training in just ticking all over at Macaires. He never left the yard. He continued on. He ran through the September, October. He won the November big race in very heavy ground at 2.5 miles. He went to Nicholls, and Robert said, we go for the Felton. He struggled to get him there, but he got there. Then he couldn't, then they were worried about his jumping. They wanted to get another run, so they couldn't give him a break then. They ran him in the Kingmaker to sharpen him up with his jumping. He was over the top. Absolutely, categorically over the top. Nicky knew it 10 days before, but couldn't pull the plug. He had to continue on. He wasn't unsound, he just had gone. He'd just gone. I'd say you could ignore that run. Now, you can say now he went to the Paddy Power, he was third off 157. It still wasn't a bad run. But Nicky's horses were not firing at the Paddy Power. They were not firing at the Paddy Power meeting. They have been since New Year.
He still wasn't jumping great at that point, but then
what did he do at Kempton?
I
mean, and he had uprooted everything at Kempton the year before. The horses come of age. I would say the form is strong of the King George. He's beaten Riverside Theatre, won a Group 1 afterwards. Kauto Star still ran a solid enough race. Would have been a lot closer if he hadn't belted the second last. Nakarat was fourth, who's still run well off a huge weight in the race post chase. That is strong form, surely. I think we could all say next week, gosh, long run was big price, wasn't it?
How did this go for that?
But in the previews, you were talking about the Imperial Commander thing. I had a Million in Mind Day, Partnership Day, last Thursday at Nicholls. That horse was carrying some condition. That's why he's been doing the the gallops on the racetrack, which have not been impressive. But that's why he's got to get the work into it. Now, I think Nigel probably thrives on a horse like that. He hasn't got to think about this. He's got a rush preparation, slightly rushed preparation. He needs to get that horse to one day for one race, and he's quite good at that. And he is getting the weight off that horse. He's getting that horse fit. He's throwing the work at this horse. And Imperial Commander's form, fresh, is outstanding. That he can't run 3 weeks after a run. He gets him ready for one run. I think it's the top two in the betting. I would love to see Kauto or even Denman there at the age they are to come back and do it. It would be tears everywhere.